How is this, Ian? It's pretty good. So one thing I have learned about nonfiction writing is that you start out with a project and then you eventually end up writing memoir. And it's really hard to find pieces of writing to read that don't involve your family when they're all here. So, thanks to my husband, who agreed that I could read about him tonight. And thanks to my dad, who, when I told him a year ago that I was going to write a memoir, said, in complete support, "Do I have to read it?" Finding peace and balance. I watch them sleep, man and dog. They face away from me toward the wall opposite the chair in which I write. They are as their bodies insist. Jeff's body contoured to his recliner's frame, and Raleigh, a retriever, sprawled loose on my husband's abdomen. Jeff's feet in sheepskin slippers stick out beyond the footrest of his beloved maroon recliner, the red chair in conversation. From my floral love seat across the room, I watch the sleeping pair find rhythm in each other. Raleigh breathes more quickly than Jeff, 2-to-1, almost. The rise and fall of the reflective collar around Raleigh's neck catches my eye. I think of Jeff's expression when, last Christmas, I pulled an impractical yet festively decorated collar from the bottom of the pup's pointy-toed stocking that I'd bought just to match Jeff's and mine. "It has a little bling," I joked about the gift. "That's okay," Jeff said. "It's functional." It was our 4th December altogether. Tonight, in contrast to the excitement of colored paper and bows that made Raleigh run circles around our blue spruce tree, we are silent. Raleigh's 7 years of digging dirt bunkers and chasing bees causes him to lay limp. The corners of his mouth droop where his head hangs over the edge of the red chair. As I write about the translucency in the tips of Raleigh's fur, I look for the 11 gray hairs on Jeff's left temple. Neither of these age marks were there 5 years ago. Jeff likes to say that I gave them to him. There might be truth in this. Jeff's face, flushed from the wine we drank earlier, is angular and poised. His body, built up by sports and weights, looks strong in the shadows. Raleigh's body, fluffed from a recent grooming, looks blameless, a sleeping child. This symbiosis dates to the day when Jeff, still a soldier then, picked up Raleigh at the pound. He tells the story like this. "I asked the kennel guy which dog was least likely to survive, and when I walked beside the cages, Raleigh was the only one who didn't bark." It was their moment of connection. A dog lost to a family, and a 24-year-old boy lost to the starkness of the desert in Iraq. They rescued each other, Jeff likes to say. He tells this story in a children's book he wrote, Running with Raleigh. "To M," the dedication reads, "who picked me up when I was down." It is an ordinary Tuesday night, although it's not ordinary that I am awake beyond Jeff. He meditates, decompresses, as he says, in the time after Raleigh and I find sleep. Some nights, after I've fallen asleep in the chair next to him, he will wake me, walk me to the bedroom, and rub circles into my back until I fall to sleep. If I've not drifted deep enough before he rises, I'll say, not yet. I'll be back, he says, always. And in the morning, you fall asleep so fast. Jeff has lit a candle on the table next to his red chair. On the faded wood, which I have covered with a wool placemat, there's also a highlighter, a Bible, a novel, and a picture I gave him of the two of us smiling somewhere in the sun. The picture faces him. Before I moved in, there were no framed photographs or keepsakes, just Jeff's leather Bible and his yellow highlighter. Don't own more than you can carry, Jeff said after our second date. Or was it, always be ready to pick up and move? My suitcases did not understand either phrase. Tonight I study them, my boys, in my black blank leather journal that Jeff gave me because he knows I don't like to write between lines. I note the delicacy and the fluidity of the light's angle shimmering in the space between us. Jeff has taught me to appreciate moments like this, moments when there is nothing else. Live in the now, he says, when I start to ask, what if? But, I'll sometimes reply, to which he will look at me and respond, don't ever let anyone take your peace. Once, when I was leafing through Jeff's journal from the war, I noticed a scribble in the margin of the Army-issued book. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46. The one he read to me when I cried and felt bad for myself because it was all too much. My mom dying too young for fairness. My dad coming out shortly after. My lack of direction in life. Just last night, when I was still bubbly from hosting a dinner party with garlic roasted chicken, sweet red tea, and frosted sugar cookies, Jeff drew me into a tight grip and said, don't get sad because it's over. Let's play Jenga. I jot down a pattern in my journal about how Jeff stays close to me during events so I can do the talking, and how, when he is not there, I look to make sure he's engaged in conversation elsewhere. He says that West Point, and then duty, caused social stunting, and that he spent the 3 years after being commissioned as an officer being content in the corners of a house that he and Raleigh shared in Louisiana. It was the same 3 years before I graduated from college, where I took shots and drank beer with men who loved men, and with women of a group I was part who defined themselves by being liberal and feminist. Now, tonight, I want to wake Jeff to thank him for hugging me after party's end, for putting his arm around me when we said goodbye to family, for saying, one more minute, every morning before he dresses for the business he has built in Boston. And I pick up a pencil to write creative essays. Last year, I wrote thank you in a card I gave him after returning from a trip he planned so that I wouldn't get the post-Christmas blues. Thank you for balancing my peace. As he lies in the chair, drained from the hour-long conversation I insisted on having about upcoming plans, what do you think? Does that sound good? Would you rather this or that? I want to say, you were right. I shouldn't stress about it. And then I want to tell him about the small noise he made when the Sarah McLachlan song came on the radio, or the way he readjusted when Raleigh yawned, or how he didn't even shift when I got up to use the bathroom. This is a marker. Once Jeff or Raleigh or both simultaneously would wake when I moved among rooms. I imagine that if a book fell or an alarm sounded, Jeff would jump to stand at attention. Raleigh would bark and Jeff, coming to, would yell for me. I guard the vulnerability in moments like this, when Jeff searches to make sure I am there. Sometimes, when he goes back to battle in his dreams, or when I am back at my mother's funeral, we wake each other in darkness and say, "It's me. It's just me." I reach to the small table between us and lift my glass to take my last sip of red wine. Jeff moves his hand to cover Raleigh's left ear. Raleigh lets out a long stretch of air, repositions his head, and opens his eyes to watch me watch him. Jeff moves his hand to Raleigh's shoulder. "There you are," I imagine Jeff to say. He says this to me when I come close enough in the night to wake him. Sometimes he'll roll onto his back and draw me into the place where his shoulder meets his arm. In this fold, I am safe. Jeff breathes in deep. I ask God, not now, not yet, just one more minute. But Raleigh heaves himself to the floor. Jeff digs his heels into the foot of his 10-year-old red recliner, ups himself, blows out his candle, and walks into the bedroom. He is gone. Behind the whitewashed doors of the bedroom, I know that Jeff will fall into the crevice on his side of the bed. He will lay on top of the covers because he has not yet showered. I know that Raleigh will settle on the foam mat I insisted Jeff put at the foot of his bed. "Don't make him soft," Jeff said. Now, Raleigh has another bed behind Jeff's chair, where he lays until Jeff invites him into his lap. Capturing this scene, so regular and embodying, makes all of our love feel more alive. In a minute, I will rise and follow the hallway to our bedroom door. I will slide through a small crack without letting in the light from the barn. In the shadows from the sandalwood candle, I will run my hand along the vinyl wallpaper to guide me toward the bed. After 6 steps, I will crawl onto and then under the army green comforter that Jeff calls his green girl. The only sound will be Raleigh licking the road salt from his paws. Jeff will flip to his left. I will settle into the space that has become mine and smooth my hair on the pillowcase. I will close my eyes, peel off my socks with my toes, and know that sometime in the night we will all find each other again.